Diablo 4 is nominated for not one, but two Game Awards this year. One of them kind of makes sense. The other one is fairly surprising and took me a little bit of time to understand. Now, when I heard it was nominated for an award, I really saw it on Twitter is where I saw it. I thought, okay, this is going to be obvious. If we pull up the nominees, we go to view all categories, best art direction, surely it's going to be art. I mean, there's nothing that anyone can actually fault Blizzard to when it goes to the art. I think the art's good, the cinnamon, like the cinegraphics and cinematography, the cinematics we got there. The cinematics in Blizzard products are actually phenomenal. I think we can all kind of agree the art looks good in Diablo 4. So I would have thought if I was a betting man, which I suppose I sort of am, I would have put my money on best art, or at least nominated for best art. Maybe it doesn't win the category, but that's where I would have thought that Blizzard would be getting its brownie points. The art is always good. I've been praising Blizzard's art for a while, and that's more or less my favorite part about their game. So I would have thought that's a natural fit. But best art direction is actually Alan Wake, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Zelda. So some of these make sense. I get that, maybe because it's best art direction. They wanted to see something a little bit different than the norm, and Diablo 4 is like good art, but it's maybe a little bit too normie for it. So I thought, okay, that kind of, I get that. I suppose that makes sense. And if we're being real, it's not in the category for Game of the Year or anything like that. I don't think that would really be fair. So I would have thought, okay, best art. However, one of them that it did get nominated for actually does make a lot of sense, and the other one, which doesn't make a lot of sense, we're about to talk about. So this is innovation in accessibility. Now, there's a lot of games here on this list. I think Hi-Fi Rush is another one I played, for instance, which I could understand because it's kind of audio-based and all that. But Diablo 4 actually has had people with disabilities be able to even kill Uberlo. For instance, I believe there was a totally blind guy that we covered once on this channel here. Shout out to him. He even came by the live stream and said thanks for covering the news because it was important to him. And he was able to kill Uber Lilith, which is like pretty cool. And he helped other blind people be able to kill Uber Lilith. You know, not everyone can kill Uber Lilith. So I can understand. I know Uber Lilith is cheesy and all that. There's going to be naysayers about the type of stuff. But the point being that Diablo 4 having innovation and accessibility, I can at least understand the argument for it deserves an accessibility nomination. Maybe it won't win the category, but I think it's fair. It's had some press around this. That one made sense to me. I'm like, okay, I can get that. Now let's see the other nomination. And the other genre, this is the one that was surprising for me, which is best multiplayer. There's 5 games in this genre: Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, the reason this one was surprising for me is the only time I really feel like people interact that much in this game is going to be Legion events and world bosses. And if you're trying to farm like the Uber Durio mats through Discord or trade chat in game or what have you, these are really the only times I find people interacting. Or you'll go to town and you'll randomly see somebody, for instance. You don't really see a lot of multiplayer gameplay and design as a forefront in this MMO. To be fair, it is more than previous Diablo titles. I play a lot of Diablo 3, and in Diablo 3's time, something I really enjoyed about it was couch co-op. And I think that is sort of where the best multiplayer comes from this. Something that is similar with multi of these games is the ability to easily get into a game with somebody, play with your best buddy, play through the game for as long as you want, and jump in and out of those games. And Diablo 4 brings that with couch co-op, and I think that is probably the reason. As I've been saying since the beginning of the game, this game is much more slated for a more casual audience, and it's not like a derogatory term. Sometimes I say casual and people think it's like plebs. It's not what I mean. I mean like the average person who plays the game a few hours a day because it's the time they have, and probably even less than that on the average. And a lot of times they do that through console. And a lot of times they either have a brother or a kid or a wife or something that they want to play the game with. And Diablo 4 actually does do couch co-op fairly well, which is, I think, where this nomination is coming. You can have multiple characters playing together. You don't have to have multiple copies of Diablo 4 for every person playing on the console. And the game is easy enough to understand and get into that you can smash through the campaign together, have a totally good experience. And because of the art, etc. I've mentioned, you're going to have a good 2-person ability to play through the game and really enjoy the game at a couch co-op level, which is, I think, the focus of this nomination here, as opposed to the massively multiplayer gameplay and design side of it. Not so much, because I don't really see people consistently, naturally interacting unless it's at the beginning of the game when someone's making new characters, or at the absolute peak of the game when they're grouping up for stuff like Uber Durio. They're in the middle portion there. There's not a lot of incentive to naturally go through and experience the game multiplayer if you started the game yourself. But if you want to start it with a friend, it's actually pretty easy to do so. However, there is an argument to be made that Diablo 4's couch co-op, good lord, I cannot speak today, is literally worse than Diablo 3, because Diablo 3, you could have a local party of 4 players, but in Diablo 4, you can only have up to 2 players. So while the co-op does work well and you don't need to own multiple copies of the game or anything like that, it is a factual downgrade in the number of players that you can play together on a console. However, there was upgrades to Diablo. If you played D3, menuing, for instance, playing couch co-op could be more difficult. So the accessibility in terms of multiplayers being able to do their own thing on split screen is a factual improvement. But it was a little bit of a yin-yang. So when I saw the multiplayer one, I was a little bit surprised for those reasons. But I think it has a pretty good chance in terms of the accessibility award to win. I think best multiplayer, it's up against some stiff competition, especially since you have Super Mario Bros. Wonder, very well received. Street Fighter, it's literally built to be a multiplayer game. Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, there's some stiff competition. And then even a party game, that's the entire reason is for multiplayer. So it's going to be hard for that one to win there. But reading from this Wowhead article here, because Tylan Fee, I hope I got his name right here, and he's come by the live stream, it seemed very important to him that he got the world's first blind Uber Lilith kill. He used a screen reader and audio cues. I think that's a cool achievement. And I hope Diablo 4 wins the accessibility award today, just because I think it would be a cool story for him, because I think he had a big part of that, and I'm sure it would mean a lot to him. So for me, that's where my vote's going to go. I think Diablo 4 will get my accessibility vote for this one, but multiplayer, I don't think I can give it to. That's just my own personal opinion, however. With that being said, love you all. I'm going to be on the live stream today. It'll be in the pinned comment as well as the description. I'll be live as soon as this video is posted. Come on by if you want to and say what up. I'll see you there.